we're going to see one of the Fast and the Furious movies. It's like, and I'm sitting there, and walks like these women, right? And she goes, "Oh my God, it's Vin Diesel," and faints. She thought it was Vin Diesel.
Nice.
What?
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 45 of 2022. I'm Chris Louie, and thankful that we got an extra hour of sleep this weekend. Happy November, everyone, and happy anniversary to you. Statistically, 3 of the most popular wedding dates are in October, and this past October 22nd, 90,000 people got married here in the US as the most popular wedding day in the most popular month. With me, I have my co-host, the Cloud God, who did not get an extra hour of sleep this weekend because his state doesn't believe in daylight savings time.
Well, you can't gain one if you never lost one, Chris. And fun fact, the best part of daylight savings time, according to Glenn, is that he gets an extra hour to eat.
Is that true?
Not sleep?
Did I say that? I do
No,
like eating.
no.
Don't get me wrong, I like eating. So,
And we have Glenn Medina, who desperately needs a haircut.
I'm going to go out to my listeners on this one. I've been on my COVID no haircut second phase. This is the second time I'm doing this. I think it's been like close to 7 to 8 months since I've gotten a haircut. And the first time I did it exactly for 1 year. This is the second time. I plan to do this for 2 years. But I'm going to go out to the listeners on this one. Should I get a haircut? My wife says if I don't get a haircut, she's going to leave me out of the family pictures. So what do you guys think? Should I or shouldn't I?
The Christmas card is going to make it look like you guys got divorced this year if you're out of the family photos.
On the back of the card will say "paid for" by Glenn Medina. It's not in there.
I really don't want to get a haircut though, because I'm on like I said, I'm on like 8 months here, 7, 8 months. No,
It's not a bad look. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
it's a terrible look, but I'm not going for looks. I'm going for length.
Will she accept like a wig or a bald cap for the photo so you can keep the hair but satisfy the requirement?
Nah, she wants it like shave buzz short, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. So
Just tell her that
Right.
she's not your mom. I'm sure it'll go over well.
yeah.
I'll just tell you, go for the Brian Deach haircut.
There you go. I'll go the other way and just shave my head and see how she likes that.
Like, I misunderstood the assignment, hun.
Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. Well, no guests this week. Combined, we have decades of information security experience and here not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Today we're going to start with some closing the loop news. We have a few items to talk about. Open with any funny wedding stories we might have. For our first story, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission hands down an unusual punishment for a CEO who dropped the ball during a data breach. Next, we have a cryptocurrency platform compensating its users after their accounts got drained. For our third story, we'll talk about the weird trend we're seeing for console games, and close with celebrity deaths that most saddened us. Closing the loop this week, as a follow-up to our story about the Fast company getting hacked and sending offensive push notifications, the newspaper The New York Post allegedly got hacked and posted some very offensive headlines calling for the assassination of some U.S. government officials. Turns out it was an insider that did it, and there were not sufficient internal controls to prevent a disgruntled employee from posting that offensive content.
That's what they get for running WordPress.
Did that go to print, or was that just digital media?
It was their webpage and Twitter, so this disgruntled employee got access to both.
Oh, I didn't know the Twitter. I think I sent you the Facebook, or not the Facebook, but I know I saw it on Twitter, the headlines that were up there. And they were definitely very offensive to a large portion of our population for sure.
So that person's still employed, right? Probably promoted as well.
Reward
Promote a
awkwardness.
customer.
Yeah.
More like it. LinkedIn launches new features to combat fake profiles. So very timely about our story about LinkedIn purging all these fake profiles. There's a setting you can look for to see if a profile has a verified email address and phone number, but the number of clicks it takes to get there is excessive. LinkedIn really just needs to publish the account creation date on the front page, and that would just fix everything.
So, question about that. You would think if I tell you that I work for Apple or Microsoft or one of the bigs, that the way to validate that I work there is with a corporate email, right? I mean, that's got to be that simple. Why do people, I can still register with my Gmail account and not necessarily my current work email.
Yeah, I think that's mainly so people don't lose access to it after they leave a company, because like Blind is like that. They do require the corporate email, but if you ever lose access to that corporate email, then you'll lose access to the account.
But you could set a secondary email in LinkedIn as well as backup. Like, so I've got my Gmail account as backup to my corporate email.
Yes, yeah. So you could do that as backup, but as your primary, some people don't even have jobs. They're just job seekers, or they're self-employed and they don't have their own domain. So there's that, having that, it's sort of like a blue check on Twitter, where if you verify your work email, you should have some enhanced capability or some kind of mark that says you've verified yourself. That's what they did, but they just made it really, really hard to find. Like, I bet if the three of us go on there right now, it'd take us 10 minutes to figure out where the setting is.
How long until you think they just say, screw that noise, we're just going to copy Elon? Because supposedly he's going to make it to where everybody can get a blue check mark, but I think it's going to come at the cost of like $20 a month.
Yeah, they're going to make people pay for their blue checks.
He's going to commoditize it. Go Elon. Look at that.
I think other places will pick up on that. I can see maybe, probably Instagram, same thing.
Meta, yeah.
Yeah, Meta, yeah. The whole gamut.
Yeah, they're desperately bleeding money.
Because everybody wants to feel important, but it's like a twofer, right? Because then you get your actual customers or to actually spend money, and then you weed out all the riffraff because they don't want to spend money to start phishing and posting dumb things.
Fake accounts. Yeah, these bot accounts and these fake accounts or these cloned accounts. Like, no one's going to spend $20 a month on a joke cloned account.
Yeah.
Going back to BYOVD attacks, or bring your own vulnerable driver, Microsoft finally removed their heads out of their rears and updated the vulnerable driver block list after 3 years of no updates.
So what driver did they update, or what did they remove?
It was some kind of sync issue. They said they were updating the list on their end. They just never pushed the list to the clients. So they fixed the problem. They just told the clients to check in and update their list every so often. That's all they had to do.
I'm just stoked that Microsoft is listening to the podcast. It's about time people start taking us serious.
You're welcome, guys and gals out there. Food maker Mondelez and their insurer finally reached a settlement last week for the $100 million claim in the wake of the NotPetya attack. So just as a reminder to our listeners, NotPetya happened in 2017, so that's been 5 years of litigation. Mondelez had property insurance, but not explicit cybersecurity insurance. But after the attack, they had to hose 1,700 servers and 24,000 laptops after the world's most destructive worm got into their network. Their insurer claimed they were exempt from paying because NotPetya was an act of war from Russia towards Ukraine. 5 years later, they reached a confidential settlement agreement.
What do you think that number actually is? I mean, we'll never know, but I'm curious what you guys think that would be valued at.
I bet they met in the middle. I call it somewhere between 3 and 600 million. Actually, 100 million. I'd say somewhere between 30 and 60 million.
No way.
Probably.
That's crazy.
Did they pay that?
Well, we don't
know. The insurer
but...
will pay it. Yeah, because their insurer got a lot of bad press saying they're trying to weasel out of paying. This is a legitimate attack. They have a legitimate claim. So they were getting a lot of bad PR, and Mondelez just wanted this to end and get their money.
I wonder if they have cybersecurity insurance now.
Oh, I bet they do.
You would think that would hurt their case, though, because they're filing a claim. Like, well, if you know better now, then why are we paying you anything?
But the insurance, I
Yeah.
mean, you've got to be able to not pay for like stupidity, right? Like if you didn't patch, you didn't upgrade, you didn't do all that stuff, or didn't even take into account some level of minimum level of effort, then yeah, the insurance company shouldn't be able to be responsible for something like that.
So that's how the policies are written now. But 5 years ago, when cyber insurance was the Wild West, and even this wasn't explicitly cyber insurance, this was property insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's loopholes on both sides you could drive a truck through, and they both took advantage of that, and they came out in the middle. And they say the best kind of settlements is the one where nobody's happy. I bet nobody was happy about this other than the lawyers that made out like bandits.
Wait a second. We're anti-insurance, so I hope they really stuck it to the man. Hopefully it was 99 million.
So we're pro-business then. Is that it, Brian?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Sorry, forgot where my alliances are.
Yeah.
All right, and Glenn has an item, so go ahead, Glenn.
So I think we remember talking about gyms in general and some of the things that are out there. I think I mentioned that I use or leverage Planet Fitness, $10 a month, great thing. Planet Fitness, if you're listening and you need us, and we could use some sponsorship here, that'd be awesome. But there's a term called lunking, or don't be a lunk, and the whole idea with Planet Fitness is they don't want any. They call it gym intimidation. So those folks that are making a lot of noise, dropping weights, that's called lunking to them, and they prefer that type of noise not be expressed inside the gym. And if you do happen to be a lunk, there's an alarm that goes off. Pretty cool. Like I said, I've never seen it go off in my gym, but definitely I've seen or heard on YouTube where it has.
I wonder if they have a lunking alarm in the restroom, because sometimes I hear people giving birth in there, man. I'm like, whoa, hope you're okay.
Hey, what I do in the restroom is none of your business, Brian. So.
All right, for our opening topic related to my comment earlier about wedding season, do you guys have any funny or crazy wedding stories? Like, has anyone ever said, I object, when they ask for objectors or anything like that?
No.
I will object if Todd gets remarried. That's for sure.
Todd, if you're listening, we've got your back, man.
Nothing against the girl, just the principle. Anyways, but no, I don't have anything funny. But maybe if you share something, Chris, then let's be like, oh yeah, I have a similar story that's nowhere the same.
I don't have anything like hilarious. I guess there are two more unusual things that happened. So when my sister got married, there's somebody in our circle that recently went through a pretty bad divorce, and there was a definite fear that the ex-husband might come and look for them. So we did have to hire private security at my sister's wedding for that reason.
Was the guy like a stalker type guy?
Yes, he is. He is the stalker type, and he definitely has some mental health issues that I think have not been treated for many years, or we feel have not been treated for many years, which is a dangerous combination. But thankfully, the wedding went off without a hitch. He did not show up, and everybody was okay.
Yeah, I always hear stories of people just going overboard and open bar and going crazy, and I've always found myself in a situation where I don't want to be that guy that everyone talks about for years to come. So I try to watch my P's and Q's.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
smart.
Oh, yeah.
Now that you guys are bringing this stuff up, my wife and I, we went to one wedding, and the whole thing was going down, and then towards the end of the night, we kind of like cornered the bride. Like my wife's been friends with her for a very long time to celebrate her, and at this point in time, she's just like obliterated, and she goes on to say that the whole wedding is a farce. She found out that her not even husband, because she refused to sign the papers, was actually cheating on her. So they just went through the entire thing, just because they already had everything lined up and didn't want to waste some money. I have no idea why she actually did it, and I was just like, that's cool. Can I get my money back? Like,
I know what's the etiquette on returning presents at that point?
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be. You're supposed to have I think the etiquette is everything's supposed to be returned back, especially within the first year, if the marriage doesn't happen or doesn't work out. I do have one for you. So a friend of a friend. From my understand, he went and married. He was an American citizen here in the U.S. He went back to the Philippines, was kind of a prearranged marriage of families of sorts. Got married over there and came to the U.S. and never consummated his wedding. The girl came here to the U.S. and wanted a divorce like within a month's time. So she ended up going back to the Philippines. Was in the middle of filing a divorce. The guy, the friend of the friend, was so distraught he had a heart attack and died.
Ooh.
And then, through the fact that the divorce was not final, she inherited everything. So, yeah, that is
a twist.
That is a very big twist. So, yeah. Weird.
Did they do an autopsy? Like, are they sure this heart attack occurred under natural causes?
Well, she was in the Philippines when it happened. I think he had a heart attack of like just loneliness or just concern for the fact that his wife did not consummate with him.
Just because she wasn't there does not prove there wasn't a conspiracy, Glenn.
Fentanyl everywhere. And on that note, I love data and stuff, and how it can be presented. 41% of all marriages, at least the first, your first marriages, they end in divorce. But on the flip side, that means 59% of marriages end in death. So it really depends on how you look at this.
Glass half empty.
Yeah.
There you go.
I heard that stat's a little bit tricky though, because like, I think the stat out there is, 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Like, I think everybody has heard that. Well, the trick
separation,
is, or separation. There are people out there that have multiple divorces. Like, I used to work with a guy that went through 3 divorces, and there was 3 guys on my team that were happily married. So I'm like, this one guy cancels out our 3 happy marriages. So when you take into account the total number of marriages versus the number of people that get divorced, I think the number is actually probably a lot lower.
I'll be honest with you guys. If I got a divorce at this point in my life, I don't see any reason why I would get married again. So, I think once is enough for me. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
As happily married men, we have no comment.
That's awesome.
Well, this haircut situation might result in a divorce. We never know.
Hey, that's what I'll tell my wife. I said, if you want to get a divorce over a haircut, that's what we'll go to the judge with, right?
Maybe you can get it annulled.
Annulled after 30 years? Because that's what this is all about. We're going to Hawaii to spend our 30th year anniversary over a haircut. And she won't let me be in the family picture because I won't get a haircut. This is awesome. So
we should be celebrating with you, but you don't want to have us come with you.
You can come. No one's preventing you guys from going to Hawaii. So
noted.
All right, for our first topic. This topic was super interesting to me when I heard about it because it involves 2 of my favorite topics, cybersecurity and alcoholic beverages. Brian, I remember when you said on a previous podcast that you worked for a company that racked up so many fines that the reaction was, sure thing, cash or credit, because paying the fines was cheaper than fixing the problem.
True story.
Well, in an attempt to finally hold a chief executive accountable for poor or egregious cybersecurity practices, the CEO of Drizly, James Corey Rellis, got some interesting punishments placed upon him in response to a massive data breach that occurred under his watch. Drizly is an alcohol delivery company that eventually got acquired by Uber for $1.1 billion. They suffered a data breach that exposed the personal details of 2.5 million customers. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission alleges that the CEO was notified of security vulnerabilities 2 years before the data breach and did not do enough to protect customer data. The proposed settlement order would require Rellis to implement an information security program at future companies where he's a CEO, a majority owner, or a senior officer with information security responsibilities, provided the company collects customer information and has more than 25,000 people. I like this a lot because Rellis cannot just wash his hands of this incident and move on to the next CEO gig. It will finally make egregious cybersecurity practices a crime for which individual executives will be punished if they knowingly continue with bad security practices. Is this the bite we finally need to change company behavior?
I don't know if it is, but I think there's about a million CISOs that are like, woo, finally, the heat's off of just me. I'm not the only person losing their job anymore.
That's a poison pill, right? You can't. You're gonna have to drink it, eat it, swallow it, and take it with you wherever you go now. So
yeah, exactly. So this guy's, I don't know if you would say toxic, but this punishment is going to follow him no matter where he goes. Because there's always these CEOs that something bad happens, they wash their hands and go on to the next company and act like nothing ever happened. But now, any company he moves on to, he's going to have to implement a strict cybersecurity program, which is good. I think that's a good move.
But what does that mean? Check. I did it. Do I have a DLP program? Check. Do I have security? Check. But the problem is, it's like with some third-party software company that has no idea what the heck they're doing anyway from a product standpoint. It's the cheapest thing on the market. I'm going to put squid proxies in. That's a check, right? That's practice. So,
hey, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, good enough for government work. I like this. I do wonder though, the rules, right? I think there might be a little bit of a gray area, and is it the Federal Trace Commission or Federal Trade Commission?
Trade. I saw that typo here. I had the red underline, but then my Grammarly plugin crashed, so I couldn't change it on the fly.
You do have to wonder anytime like the U.S. government's chiming in, someone must be getting paid. So I'm wondering who's going to start orchestrating these rules and regulations, and more importantly, can I make sure that the company I work for can benefit from it? ?
I think the devil will be in the details of what exactly is a strict cybersecurity program. Is it MFA? Is it basic DNS protections? Is it no more VPNs?
Must follow NIST compliance based across the wall, across the board.
Yeah, man, it's like no more VPNs. You have to do SSL inspection, and hey, a modern browser, secure enterprise browser would be pretty cool. But checking all the boxes, baby. I love it.
We need to hire lobbyists. I think that's the takeaway from this. We need more lobbyists in Washington.
Maybe put that in the book. Other options besides being a sales engineer, being a lobbyist, cybersecurity lobbyist. There you go.
All right. For our second topic, this will be our cryptocurrency story of the week. Another day, another multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency theft. Users of the popular trading platform and exchange FTX were socially engineered into giving up their API keys, which allowed an attacker to steal over $6 million worth of cryptocurrency before the hack was discovered and the API keys were rotated. FTX was not the only trading platform affected, but FTX is unique in compensating its users for the lost funds. To be clear, this had nothing to do with FTX, and they did everything right, but their users were tricked into revealing their API keys, which allowed attackers to drain their accounts. I think FTX is trying to buy some goodwill considering the crypto winter we are in and severe drop in interest in trading in cryptocurrency. The CEO of FTX says this bailout is a one-time event and not to expect additional compensation in the future for these types of thefts. One major drawback, and to an extent, a feature of cryptocurrency, is that there's no central authority to block or claw back fraudulent transactions. Credit cards and PayPals have chargeback scams, but crypto is a one-way transaction.
You have to wonder, like, if they're willing to do it for $6 million, right, for some goodwill, had this been $600 million, do you think they would have been in the same boat? Like, hey, we'll take care of it this time, guys. Things happen.
Probably not 600 million. I think the relatively low sum in the grand scheme of things probably played a part in it. That's like one Matt Damon commercial or something, $6 million.
Is Matt Damon a spokesperson for FTX? I don't know.
He is for Crypto.com. FTX does have a celebrity. I don't recall who.
Yeah, but that's all marketing, right? I mean, $6 million is a drop in a bucket. $600 million is a big difference.
True. And why is there a crypto winter going on? Like, I understand. No, I don't understand. I don't understand, guys. Actually, like, I understand, like, the stock market's plunging, inflation's all-time high. I thought the whole purpose of crypto was to, like, get away from all that nonsense, and it seems like just as volatile as everything else.
Hedge inflation. Yeah, I think the takeaway is people are treating cryptocurrency like a tech stock. It's down 50 to 70%, just like all the tech stocks are, and it's not this inflation safe haven as a lot of people thought it might be. Everyone's buying gold now.
Yeah, you would think you would have thought they'd have the opposite effect, right? Like everything else is down, but crypto's still strong because it's not something that's relevant to what's going on in the market. It's going to stay solid.
Yeah, I guess we should have seen it coming, right? Like if there are going to be these high peaks, then there's going to be some low lows with it as well. I guess I just would expect to be a little bit more stable, but maybe not. Stablecoin, brought to you by PEBCAK.
There you go.
There's a funny meme I saw that said they compared the British pound to Bitcoin, and they said comparing the two for the last 6 months, Bitcoin's actually been way more stable than the British pound. Like, because there's all the criticism, like, well, Bitcoin's too volatile, don't invest in it. Well, yeah, the British pound has also been extremely volatile over the last few months.
What hasn't been volatile? Everything's been volatile in the market, right? Other than gold and silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So FTX's spokespeople, Larry David of Seinfeld fame and Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Steph Curry, the basketball player. So those are their two celebrity spokespeople that I was able to find. Oh, I think Tom Brady is as well.
Well, half of it now it's Giselle's.
So. Yeah, he's half of their spokesperson.
Interesting demographic they're going for. Old white men and athletes. All right.
Yep, pretty much. Well, it's good that FTX is compensating people, though, because I think that'll build some brand loyalty. People that got hosed in this, and they say, well, FTX, they made people whole. There is other platforms. Was it Kraken? There's one platform that got wiped, and then they made everybody, they had a shared loss model. Everybody got a 30% haircut. Whether or not you were affected in the hack or not, everybody took a 30% haircut. And they said, if the funds are ever recovered, we'll give you back what we can. And then that exchange closed to U.S. residents. So those U.S. residents had to sell their losses at a gigantic loss. And then they eventually did get partially made whole, but people in the U.S. couldn't take advantage of it because they don't allow you to use that platform here anymore.
Well, you know what? The devil's in the details, right? Like, what if there was only two people that actually got scammed in this entire thing, and it was the CEO's parents? Like, we're all around good guy. We're going to make everyone whole, and then meanwhile, just taking care of family. But right. I am curious, how was it actually discovered that people were hemorrhaging accounts? Did end users just start complaining, like, hey, where'd all my money go?
Pretty much. I think there were users complaining about these unauthorized trades, the UATs, and then I think they figured it out that all these unauthorized trades are coming via API. So they said, well, these users must have leaked their API key. Let's rotate all these API keys for security purposes. And I think after that, they did the investigation, found out, yep, these people were phished.
Idiots. Just kidding.
Yeah, so I got to be really, really careful with crypto.
So even if your crypto was in offline storage with FTX, is that a thing? Would that have been possible to?
If it's offline, it's offline.
Yeah, if it's offline, it's not an FTX.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything that you store in FTX. So yeah, so that's the other story here, Glenn, is correct, that if you want to make sure it's secure, put it in a offline hardware wallet or an offline QR code. Do not keep it in FTX. It can and will get stolen.
Yeah.
So fun fact, we had all kind of decided to buy a bunch of crap coin late last year. And then Chris sends a note out to everybody. He's like, look at Doge. It's mooning right now. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I log in. I'm like, I'm still down $497. Like, what the hell? It's skyrocketing, guys. Oh, not really.
It is. It has to. I'm betting it has to do something with Elon's Twitter deal, because Doge was sitting at 6 cents for a long, long time after the crypto winter is sitting between like maybe 6 and 8 cents. And it shot up to like 15, 16 cents. So 100% in a week. That is skyrocketing and mooning. You just happened to buy in at the wrong time. That's not my fault.
Hey, and I'm okay with it. Don't spend money you're not comfortable losing, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Sound investment advice.
But just next time, let me know like when it's actually mooning and we can retire, and not this nonsense of like, hey, look, you still lost money, Brian. Good job.
That's why I buy liquor, because liquor I at least can drink. So
has utility.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you put your life savings into Doge at 6 cents and you cash out at 15 cents, you might have been able to retire.
My life savings is only $750 though. So
buy low, sell high. for our third topic, we haven't had a good gaming story in a bit, so the brand new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 game dropped on Friday. I used to be one of those guys that lined up at GameStop for the midnight drop, and at home I was stocked with Mountain Dew, Doritos, double XP codes, and I would rush to see how fast I could max out my character.
Hey, you know what else dropped?
What else?
Kyler Murray's QB rating. That dude is trash. Once again, proving that video games. I don't know how
I
many
did see
times
that
you can blow a
meme
game.
that said, Kyler Murray is MIA because the new Call of Duty dropped.
Oh, gee. I don't think it was a lie. Like, it was terrible. Anyways, you were talking about crazy things, Mountain Dew, Doritos, double decker tacos.
Did you guys ever camp out for a game or a movie?
No.
Never.
Never really?
Yeah, there's
Not
nothing
for, like,
out
a new
there.
Star Wars movie or
If the line
Star
Call of
Wars,
Duty.
if a line to a restaurant is longer than 15 minutes, I'm going someplace else.
Chipotle's good to go, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like that now. I lined up for the Phantom Menace when that came out. I'm not going to give away my age, but there were a bunch of people in our friends group that wanted to see it opening day, so I lined up. I can't remember how many hours I waited in line to get the tickets for that. So I did that. I lined up when StarCraft 2 dropped, when some of the World of Warcraft expansions dropped, and Call of Duty.
Do you go out for like Black Friday sales as well? Do you stand in line?
Again, that was another thing I used to. Before I was married, I did. We had another friends group that would camp out on Black Friday to get cheap laptops and things like that. And then at some point, it's like, well, this isn't worth it to save $100 on a laptop to camp out in the freezing cold. But sometimes you can make a thing out of it. Like I had a friend group that had like their own tents. They had like camping lanterns. Like it was a whole setup. So it wasn't too bad.
So
yeah.
There was a couple of movies that had very long lines. I remember Austin Powers being one of them. And then the other one that sticks out for some reason, probably because I almost got murdered, was The Sixth Sense. So I had found out by watching the movie that Bruce Willis was a ghost. And so we went to the movie theater in the long line. I was just
see where this is going.
Yeah, I was just telling everybody, like, basically that Bruce Willis is a ghost, right? And like, these people are just so upset. And then went to go watch the movie a second time, and I'm sitting in the front row, and I just shout out that Bruce Willis is a ghost before the thing even started, and like people were livid. So.
I remember seeing articles like that for the new Star Wars Episode 7 when that came out, because there's a giant spoiler at the end of Episode 7, and there's a guy that walked out of the movie theater to the people waiting to go in and blurted out the spoiler, and he got a butt kicking. He got a whooping.
Oh, jeez. You like walk into a theater, you're like looking at the screen and the walls behind you, and like just as you turn the corner is like where everyone can kind of see you because you're coming down that hallway. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things to do to this day is whoever I'm with, I stop, and just as they turn the corner, I'll shout out something very, very obscene, like "I'm adopted," and then like, you know what I mean, like just like random things. And you throw in a different adjective into whatever you guys want. And it always ends up being very funny to me and not so much funny to my wife.
Your poor wife. Anyways, back on topic.
Yes.
Well, the new Call of Duty game, the physical disc that you get, that you pop into the console, it's a 72 megabyte downloader. So much to the surprise of gamers everywhere, when you pop the disc into the console, it prompts you to download the, wait for it, 150 gigabytes worth of data. So if you're on a satellite or a slow internet link, or maybe a metered connection, or you have data caps, you could easily blow through that data cap and upset a lot of people that are on a slow internet link. So I do remember on launch night, you would have to download a patch, but most of the time the game's already on the disc and the patch is maybe 50 to a few hundred megabytes. But you buy the disc and they still make you download the 150 gigabyte game. So, I mean, I have one question for Activision. Why?
I'm with you on that. Like, so number one, how much
costs
data
them
can you
money.
go on a disc?
650, right? Megabytes. If it's a DVD, then it's
No,
like 1 gig.
a Blu-ray will hold over 60 gigabytes of data.
Right.
I don't know the exact number.
I'm talking about your traditional DVD, right? Not
Okay, so
Blu-ray.
CD-ROM is 650 megabytes, DVD is 4.7 or 4.3 gigabytes, but Blu-ray, which all modern consoles should be able to read Blu-rays, it's over 60 gigabytes.
So that's why
Sony
you
won.
just-
Yeah.
The game is number one. That's bloatware. Number two, Jesus, man, like you would think that distributing the game on a physical disc has got to be like. Can you imagine trying to like, if this is a popular game, right? And you have like, I don't know, 100,000 people trying to download it all at the same time. You're gonna have a whole bunch of pissed off people. Forget that you're on Starlink. There's
a bunch of pissed off people already because it's slow.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like they solve that, right? So, and I'm not a gamer by any stretch, so.
They either rent extra servers from AWS or Akamai. Somebody's getting paid for all that bandwidth. 150 gigs per copy
Dang.
sold.
So the real question is, why is the downloader 72 megabytes? Because I guarantee like W gets like 3 megs, and then you can throw like a little Modern Warfare like logo up there for, maybe a couple of them for 1.2 megs. Like, where's the rest at?
Why
What
not
is the
just
rest
load
of
the whole disk, though? I don't understand why not just load the whole disk with the rest of it just being empty.
Well, and that's sort of my point. So I know a Blu-ray, I'll have to look it up at what the exact number is, but let's say a Blu-ray can at least hold 40 gigs of data. Why not put 40 gigs of game data on the disc and then download the remaining 100? Like, at least make it playable.
Multiple disc. Just like we used to do with like our Office installs on floppy, remember? Like there was like 32 of them.
I had one of our first Police Quest games that was on those 3.5-inch discs. Do you guys remember those?
You're old.
Floppy.
I had 10 discs that I had to swap in and out every time. If I went to across the screen and I went to another street that crossed the screen, I had to load the new disc in for the new visuals. That's how old I am.
Great user experience.
And even then, I have a pretty decent connection here, but I'm thinking of people in rural area. I mean, even 150 gigs, that's just crazy amounts of data that you have to download, even before you get to play.
Yeah.
But you can't even play like single player mode or anything.
What's amazing though is like, the U.S. probably is the one that enjoys the fact that we really don't pay per gigabit. Well, we do now. But like in Europe and everywhere else, they pay like high amounts of money for that bandwidth that they consume, right? So
yeah, they're definitely not targeting the developing world, that's for sure. Some people are on like LTE connections, so they don't even have a home internet. They just use tether to their phone. Yeah, not a good business practice, and I have not bought the game. Maybe I will at some point, but 150 gigs, not looking forward to that.
At some point, you can only have like 10 games on your console, right?
Like the base Xbox now is 500 gigs, so 150 out of 500. That's our, and then the OS takes some space. You're already like ran out of half your space, and you only have one game on the thing.
Wow,
that's good. Some good math. Good job, Chris.
Do you guys have consoles? I haven't. I mean, I haven't bought a console in over 10 years. So,
well, Deech has kids, so he probably does.
Yeah, we got a couple. Xbox 360 probably Xbox One. What's the newest one? Xbox S1X?
There's the S, and then there's the X.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
I have an Xbox One.
Yeah.
Telling you how
I have
the last time I gamed.
Yeah, I have an old Xbox, so it's been a while.
LAN party, everyone. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
All right, for our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about what celebrity death made you the saddest. I have two, and I can start.
Well, probably LeBron James, all of the Kardashians. Oh, did you say they made us the saddest or the ones I'm hoping that die? Oh, okay, my bad. I think I got that wrong. Anyways, Chris, let me think about this. I'll come back to you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The one that stuck out the most for me is Grant Imahara, the guy from Mythbusters.
Oh, yeah.
He just seemed like a genuine good guy. He died of a brain aneurysm when he was only 49 years old. I watched him a lot on Mythbusters, and growing up, I think the world was a better place with him in it. He promoted engineering, robotics, and inspired a generation of people, and he was just always happy. And then, after he passed, and I read stories, like firsthand accounts of people that worked with him and met him, and they echo that. They said he was just a really good guy, always fun to be around, always happy, and the world is definitely a worse off place now that he's no longer here. He did.
Yeah. He looked like he was in his 30s or even 20s. Yeah.
So it's Asian genes.
That's right.
I guess so.
The second one would be Paul Walker, the actor Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious franchise. I remember exactly where I was when I got the news. We were celebrating Thanksgiving at a relative's house, and that definitely put a damper on the evening. Another case of what seemed like a genuinely good guy that left us too soon. The documentary that they made about him made him out that he was a really nice guy, and we got to learn what kind of person he was when he wasn't making movies.
What's stronger than family? The tree Paul Walker hit. Yeah, so I don't feel bad. I mean, I'm sure he was a good guy, but, he was doing dumb things. Yeah, it happens.
He died doing what he loved. I think that was a silver lining.
But was he the driver or was he a passenger in that event? I think he was the passenger, right?
I don't remember.
He was the driver.
I think he was the driver.
Was he?
He had a passenger with him, but I think he was driving.
Okay.
If only we can Google it. So, anyways, you got some runner-ups there, Chris?
I do, but I'll let you or Glenn go first.
All right. So, one of your runner-ups is Robin Williams. And I would say that when I first read this article, he was my number one guy. Not that I really worship any celebrities at all, but you just think of somebody like him that just brings like so much joy and fun in life to kind of go. It seems to me like it was a suicide, albeit questionable circumstances. So he got me pretty good. And then Junior Seau from the New England Patriots, the guy that shot himself in the chest because he thought the whole like CTE thing. That was rough.
Sad,
yeah. Just because you just know something's wrong, but no one will listen to you. Like that's just terrifying. So I guess anytime it's like a suicide, that just kind of bums me out. And probably the one that really jacked with me was I used to watch a lot of WWF, which is WWE now, and Chris Benoit. I used to love watching that dude. I just thought he was pretty cool. And then
that was really tragic.
Yeah, it was until they did this whole tribute, and then a couple days later you find out that it wasn't just like a suicide. It was a double murder. Killed his wife and his kid. I'm like, dude, what is going on? Yeah. So when you hear stuff like that, like, is this,
was that associated to like his steroid use? Like, was it Bret Hart or was that the Macho Man? Was just
Randy Savage?
Yeah, because he committed suicide as well, right? I think he did.
I think Chris Benoit was related to. It was something. It might have been the steroids, like roid rage or something. There's something, definitely some ghost he was dealing with, either from head injuries or the steroids.
Yeah, this is wild. So if you're listening and you feel like you're at the end of your rope, you call me. I'll talk to you for freaking weeks, whatever it takes to keep you on this earth.
Yeah,
I mean that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I may sound cold. I don't look at stars or actors as something that I idolize. I like the fact I like watching what their products are, but things that affected me probably more than anything was like 9/11 when the towers came down. That affected me really bad. But that's all those people dying, perishing inside those two buildings, and then the results of the fire. The firemen and the police going up in there and trying to save all those people. That's, to me, that was like, that's heroic, right? Not being able to put names and faces to that. So, but yeah, like Robin Williams, great guy, stand-up guy. He did a lot of the USO events out there. Never saw him in person, but like I said, solid stand-up guy, Brian. So
there's a story about sort of related to 9/11 that there was a TV show called Murder in Small Town X, and it was a TV miniseries in 2001. It was like a reality show at the time, and then the guy who won it was an NYFD firefighter, and then he was there on 9/11.
Oh, wow. He was where, on the show or in...
He won the show, and then he was there on 9/11, and I'm looking it up in real time now. I can't remember if he died in 9/11 or not, but he was definitely there. Oh, he did die.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the guy was an NYFD firefighter. He won the show, and I remember watching the show, and in his bottom third said he was a firefighter in New York. And then it was something crazy, like a week after the finale aired and it showed that he won, like he won the grand prize. He was a first responder in the World Trade Center, and he actually died in the World Trade Center attacks like a week after the show aired, which was crazy.
What's even crazier is like if you look at the time spent, there are kids, my youngest daughter doesn't know what really happened on 9/11, right? Wasn't born, wasn't affected by that yet. So that's kind of crazy that that history is kind of forgotten.
Yeah, I was running a little IT shop, and I remember I actually had a phone that had an FM transistor in it, so I could actually sit there and listen to the radio, even though I wasn't supposed to. And I was listening to Stern when it happened, and then all of a sudden, like, the internet broke. Like, the internet was kind of new, but the internet broke. Like, literally everybody was going to news websites to figure out if what happened actually happened.
What happened, yeah.
And I remember, I think Stern stayed on until at least noon, like Arizona time. And I just remember being like such a heightened state of emergency, like everywhere, like just driving down the road is like waiting for like the next big thing to happen, and just freaked out. We're how'd you guys find out?
We're on the West Coast, so I was about to go to school, and then I got a call from the school that said school's canceled today just because of what's happening in New York. I'm like, well, what's happening in New York? And then I think my dad was probably already watching TV at the time, and they were just watching things unfold. I think by the time West Coast time, I think it was the second tower had like just fallen.
Yeah, I had just gotten to work, was listening to the radio, and was kind of like, what's going on? And when I pulled into work, like a whole bunch of TVs were on, and just walking through that, so just in shock. That was real shock.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still Stern. I don't know if Stern still does this, but there was a number of years on 9/11 he would play that episode all day long on at least on Sirius. I don't know if he did it on regular radio, and it's so eerie to listen to. Just the genuine fear in people, like just calling in, and
events unfolding in real time. Yeah. All right, going on from that somber moment, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, Brian's up.
I have two because it's Tuesday. Actually, it's Wednesday. But anyways, we'll do two. I am sick and tired of these millennials running around like they rent the place. Get it? They don't own the place because they rent it.
Wow.
I told my wife that I bought 4 new guns. She asked me where I got them. I said from a T-Rex. He's my small arms dealer.
Wow.
Wow. Little T-Rex arms.
Funny.
All right, to wrap things up, the New York Post has to do better defending against insider threats. Drizly CEO will have to practice good cyber hygiene wherever he goes next. FTX is compensating their users for a phishing attack. The Call of Duty disc is nothing more than a dummy downloader, and too many people were gone too soon. That's all we have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-hosts Brian Deitch and Glenn Medina, I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Thanks,
Toodles.
everyone. Have a nice day.